Football is known to be one of the most popular sports in the world, and here in Africa, there is no exception to the local reverence towards the beautiful game. Nigeria, however, once a football powerhouse, seems to have for now lost its mojo, for more reasons than one. On this episode, we take a look at the critical sporting elements that once united this populous African country, making it a successful soccer nation. Why is it that today the great kings of African soccer no longer have a seat at the table of soccer? It seems that despite the fact that many Africans have gained equality with teammates in leagues the world over, many things related to their homegrown football remain imperfect. I'm James Larrday, and you're watching Channels Discovery.
In 1985 in Beijing, China, Nigeria's Baby Eagles became the first country to win the FIFA Under-17 World Cup. Years after, up until 1996, there was clear progress and rapid improvement at each stage of Nigeria's national teams. The advancement in the 1990s was so remarkable that even the great Pele endorsed the inevitable fact that sooner or later an African side would win the World Cup. 30 years on, and the great African hope Nigeria are no closer than they were 30 years ago. To understand what happened to such a feasible dream, I headed first to meet with the president of the Lagos State Football Association at the long-standing Ikorodu Stadium, Lagos, to find out the state of the local league and its emanating talent.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hello.
Barrister Akiwumi.
Yes, this.
How's everything?
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. It's quite empty, I must say, though.
Well, it's a Wednesday afternoon, off season, so there's not much going on. You're just wetting the grass and getting it ready for the new season.
Which will start when?
In March.
In March.
After elections, yes.
Okay. So what is the role of the Lagos Football Association in football in Nigeria?
Well, Lagos State Football Association is an affiliate of the Nigerian Football Federation. It's one of 37. That's the 36 states and the FCT. Each one of them has a football association that is meant to run football within the state and develop association football within the state. So our job includes, nurturing the youth, having interstate competitions, organizing and regulating the various teams that play in the national leagues. So it's quite a plethora of responsibility.
Okay. Yeah. Would you say the state of the local leagues now is affecting the national sport in general?
Oh, certainly. The local league is the lifeblood of the national football, national teams. So the leagues need to get back to at least a semblance of its lost glory, and indeed probably surpass what it used to be.
Right. What are some of the factors responsible for the dire state of the local football leagues in Nigeria?
Well, I think for me, essentially, there's one major problem. The major problem is that most of the clubs, particularly at the Premier League level and even below, are owned by, or substantially owned in some cases, by government. And in my opinion, government has no business running a football club. It's really a private endeavor, supported and regulated by the associations and supported by governments, but not that the government should run.
But I mean, if we go back to like the 80s, there were a lot of popular local leagues. I mean, teams like Leventis United, Abiola Babes. I remember going to matches in Ibadan, IICC Shooting Stars and whatnot. Yeah. What happened to all these great teams?
Well, a lot of it, like I said, is what happened to Nigeria. The economic downturn affected football generally. A lot of it also, the private investor found it too difficult to continue funding those teams. Government took over many of them, and many of them just died a natural death because of that. So that's always going to do it. But the main issue is that we need to upgrade the league. We need to attract the attention. We need to let people believe that if you win on the pitch, you've truly won. Not because it's been manipulated or you're not sure whether the referee is afraid of his life. So all of these things we need to tie in together to get the private sector to key into sponsorship of football again. Once there's integrity and they believe that those in charge will use their money properly and to the ends that they intended it to be, and give them the relevant exposure, then I think the private sector will come back to football. We have a plan in my committee. It's called the Youth Committee of the NFF, and it's called Goal 2022.
Okay.
And the idea really is to work towards win the World Cup in 2022. And everybody says, oh, how do you think you can do that? And I think, look, we have the talent, so that's one key structure we have. The other is to have a proper plan and implementable plan. And the idea is to look at under 16s and under 18s today. And the 15-year-old in 7 years' time, which is 2022, will be 22 years old.
Right.
So the idea between now and then is to bring down the age of the Super Eagles and then also get these kids and the coaches who work with them. There'll be a whole lot of them, scouts, coaches, physiotherapists, psychologists, who we can train simultaneously. So that in 2022, we have a whole pool of all those cadre of people who are world class, including the players. So that way it can be done. And I assure you, where we are today in Lagos, 4 years ago it was said to be impossible. But here we are. It's possible.
It's only going to keep getting better.
We certainly hope so.
Right.
We'll try. We'll try very hard.
Barrister, thank you very much for your time, sir.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. You are welcome.
Mr. Balogun.
Yes.
Afternoon,
Happy to
sir.
meet you.
Pleasure, sir.
You are welcome.
All right.
Welcome.
So tell us a little bit about the Ikorodu Stadium and when you started in the local league.
I started watching football at Ikorodu Stadium as far back as 1966.
Really, that far back?
Yes. And during that time, it's a tug of war between NEPA Football Club of Lagos, then ECN, and Stationary Stores Football Club. We have so many teams in Lagos then because Lagos dominates Nigerian football as at that time. Whenever any of those teams are playing in this place, we'll be jam-packed, both popular and reserved.
Why do you think the stands are no longer filled with fans anymore? In the heyday, it seems to have been
First and
packed with
foremost,
fans.
I think number one is due to our economic problem. Secondly, the officiating aspect, because nobody will like to put his money where you know that team A and team B is going to play and team B is always going to win. So that is the second part of it. As far back as 1990, Stationary Stores will play in this place against Ranger. They will lose to Ranger. Heaven will not fall.
And Stationary Stores
Yes.
were a very good team, right?
In Lagos. So Shooting Stars will play at Ibadan. They will play draw or lose. Nothing will happen. But it won't be like that now. Home must win at all costs.
Really?
That is part of our football problem.
We used to have local stars that the fans loved, like Friday Ekpo and Fatai Amou.
Because during their day, they started their football right from the grassroots. And they developed gradually. But nowadays, boys, some of them did not know how to control ball. They wanted to go to Europe to go and play. That is the bane of the
They had the
problem.
fundamentals.
Yes.
Okay.
That is the problem we are facing. We are to develop them from grassroots, which they did not want to do. They just want to go and play in Europe. So that is one of the problems.
But nowadays, the local fans seem to know more about players in Man United and Chelsea
Because-
than their own local leagues.
because we did not develop our league. That is the problem.
In your lifetime?
During our time, if I leave my house to come and watch stationery stores here, I can predict from my house that these are the 11 players stores is going to feed. NEPA are going to feed so 11 players. Out of those 11, 9 will enter. Quote me. Wow. And the 2 others will be in reserve bench. But now, tell me, as I'm working in the FA, I cannot mention 3 or 4 names of each player in our association.
All right. You've dedicated most of your life to local football. To football.
Yes.
What changes would you like to see in the local league in your lifetime?
By the grace of God, we want it to develop back as it did before, so that our coming generation will see what is good in our own time.
Yes.
So that is it.
All right, Mr. Balogun, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hi.
Good afternoon, Mr. Coker.
Hi, how are you? Long
Fine,
time.
thank you.
How's it going?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk football administration. What makes today's league board different from yesteryear?
Yeah, the league board for now is detached from the Nigerian Football Federation, and it trickles down to the states football associations as well. Mm-hmm. And likely the league board now is composed of passionate, tested football lovers. Though you have some club owners on the board, but at the same time they're more independent, and we're having a fair game and decisions at the league level now. So
okay.
it's good. The future is looking encouraging.
Well, now the local leagues clearly are in need of a bit of resurrection, and with Lagos being the center of league football in Nigeria, what are you guys doing to make this happen?
Well, at our level, what we're trying to do is to resurrect the feeder system. You know, in the past you have icons, good footballers that attracts spectatorship.
Right.
So we found out that at the feeder level, it has collapsed. So we've started resurrecting the feeder system, and we want to create a situation where it can be institutionalized, and again we'll be able to nurture these children and have literate footballers.
Right.
So as they grow up, they feed the league system. So that's actually the plan.
How does the early exodus of young players to foreign clubs affect the growth and sustenance of local talent?
Well, I must confess, it's actually affecting it largely. And what I've been putting up together now is for us to have a national youth football policy where it will deal with this exit, how they exit, you know, from the local league to foreign clubs. And you find most of these young talents play for the national team. We should have a say on where these